I think I didn't do anything wrong, just made one mistake that didn't even mean anything. It was supposed to be my last night of freedom, one stupid moment that no one would ever find out about. But now my husband is suing for annulment, his lawyers calling it premeditated fraud, and I can't even walk into a store without someone whispering my name. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible stories. I keep telling myself it was just nerves. Everyone gets cold feet before their wedding, right? That's what I thought when Grant poured me another glass of champagne that night in the hotel bar. The lights were soft, the music low, the whole place buzzing with that nervous energy before a big event. Owen had already gone up to bed, said he wanted to be rested for the morning. I'd laughed and called him an old man, but inside I'd been shaking. I told Grant I just needed to breathe, to forget for a few hours that tomorrow my entire life would change forever. Grant was always easy to talk to, too easy. He'd been Owen's best friend since college, the charming one, the loud one, the guy who always had a story. I used to roll my eyes at his jokes, but that night, after 3 drinks, they actually made me laugh. When he said I looked nervous, I told him I just wanted everything to be perfect. He said it already was, and I believed him because he looked at me like no one ever had. I don't even remember the moment it crossed the line. Maybe when his hand brushed mine, or when I said I should head up to my room and he followed, saying he wanted to make sure I got there safely. I should have stopped it. I know that. But I didn't. It was a blur of wine and panic, and the strange relief of doing something completely wrong. I told myself it didn't matter, that it was just one last night of freedom before becoming someone's wife. When I woke up the next morning, the sunlight was too bright, my head pounding. Grant was already gone. The sheets smelled like champagne and guilt. I stumbled into the bathroom, splashed water on my face, and stared at my reflection until I didn't recognize it anymore. I told myself no one would ever know. Then the knock came. Housekeeping, a young maid with a folded note and something shiny in her palm. She said, "This was found in your room, ma'am." I took it automatically. It wasn't a note. It was a cufflink, gold, engraved with Owen's initials. My stomach dropped so fast I thought I might be sick. She smiled politely, unaware she'd just handed me the beginning of a nightmare. I sat there on the edge of the bed, clutching that cufflink, trying to figure out how it even got there. I'd seen Owen wearing them earlier that evening before he went upstairs. Did he come back down? Did he see something? I told myself he couldn't have. He would have said something. He always says something. But all I could think about was the way Grant wouldn't look me in the eye when I saw him later that morning, and the way my own reflection looked like a stranger trying to pass for a bride. The morning felt like a dream I couldn't wake up from. Everyone was rushing, flowers arriving, photographers setting up, bridesmaids shouting about lipstick shades, and I just kept smiling like nothing was wrong. I tucked Owen's cufflink deep into my makeup bag, praying no one would notice it missing. When my mother came in fussing over my hair, I laughed too loud and told her I was just tired. She said I looked pale and needed to eat something. I said I wasn't hungry. Owen knocked on the door once before the ceremony. He wasn't supposed to, but he said he just wanted to check on me. When he walked in, I felt my throat tighten. He looked so calm in his grey suit, exactly the kind of steady I used to find comforting. He asked if I was ready. I said, "More than ever." It came out too fast. He smiled, but his eyes lingered on me a second longer than usual, like he could sense something off. Then he reached into his pocket and adjusted his cufflinks, the matching one to the piece still hidden in my bag. And I swear my stomach flipped so hard I nearly dropped my bouquet. Grant came in a few minutes later with the rings. His face looked like chalk. He avoided my eyes completely, handed the box to the maid of honor, and mumbled something about checking on the sound system. I wanted to grab him, shake him, ask if he said anything, if Owen knew, but I couldn't risk anyone seeing. I just stood there smiling, pretending nothing was wrong, while inside I was screaming. When the ceremony started, everything blurred. The music, the flowers, the guests, none of it felt real. I could barely look at Owen. When it was Grant's turn to speak, to hand over the rings and say his few rehearsed words, he froze. Just for a second, but long enough. He stuttered, cleared his throat, and avoided looking at either of us. A few people laughed softly, like it was stage fright. I knew better. I could feel the blood draining from my face. Owen turned his head slightly, eyes narrowing. That look, quiet, assessing, the way he used to glance at a broken circuit board before finding the fault. It terrified me. I forced a smile, said my vows perfectly, every syllable crisp and bright. But inside, I was unraveling. When the ceremony ended, everyone clapped and cheered, and Owen kissed me in front of them all. It should have felt romantic, but it didn't. His lips were soft but distant, like a performance for the crowd. My mother was crying happy tears in the front row. My hands were shaking so hard I hid them in my bouquet. Grant disappeared right after the photos. Owen stayed close but silent. I told myself it was over, that I'd gotten away with it. But when he leaned in to whisper, "You seem nervous," I realized his tone wasn't loving. It was curious, like a man who already knew the truth, but wanted to watch me admit it. The reception felt like a movie I didn't remember auditioning for. Everyone kept saying how beautiful the day was, how lucky I was, how perfect everything looked. I smiled until my cheeks hurt, danced when the music started, drank champagne I couldn't taste. Owen was polite, attentive, almost too calm. He talked to guests, made jokes with my uncle, thanked the staff. To anyone else, we looked like a happy couple. But every time our eyes met, something in his expression made my chest tighten. He was studying me. I could feel it. Grant kept his distance. He sat near the bar, pretending to be busy with the groomsmen. Once, when I walked past him, he whispered, "We can't talk here." I hissed back, "Then when?" And he just shook his head, eyes darting toward Owen. I should have left it alone, but guilt mixed with panic, and I followed him later when he slipped into the hallway near the restrooms. He was pacing, running a hand through his hair. I asked what was wrong. He said we needed to tell Owen before someone else did. My heart nearly stopped. "Are you insane?" I whispered. "You'll ruin everything." He said, "We already did." I wanted to slap him for saying it out loud. That's when one of my bridesmaids, Tessa, walked out of the restroom and froze mid-step. She looked between us and frowned. "What's going on?" she asked. I said, "Nothing, just checking on him. He's nervous." She didn't look convinced. After she left, I turned on Grant. "You need to pull yourself together," I said through clenched teeth. "If anyone finds out, we're both done." He looked sick, said he couldn't do this anymore, then walked away. I stood there alone, heartbeat in my ears, lipstick smudged, trying to look normal again before going back to the ballroom. When I rejoined the party, whispers had already started. Tessa was talking quietly to another bridesmaid. They both glanced at me and then quickly looked away. My mother asked why my makeup looked blotchy. I said the lights were hot. Owen put his arm around me for a photo and smiled, but I could feel how stiff his hand was on my waist. Later, when it was time for the couple's dance, the DJ called our names. The room clapped. Owen took my hand, and for a moment I thought he'd say something kind. Instead, he leaned close and said, "You really thought no one would notice?" The words were so soft I almost thought I imagined them, but his grip tightened just enough to tell me he wasn't guessing. He knew. After the song, he thanked everyone for coming and excused himself, saying he needed a moment of air. He never came back. By the time I got to the honeymoon suite, the lights were off, the bed untouched, and on the nightstand lay an envelope with my name written in his careful handwriting. Inside was one line: "The reservations are cancelled." The next morning, I woke up in the hotel room alone, still wearing my wedding dress. The makeup on my face had turned to grey smudges, and the champagne on the table had gone flat. For a few seconds, I forgot where I was. Then I saw the empty space where Owen's suitcase should have been. My stomach sank. I called his phone right away. It went straight to voicemail. Downstairs, the lobby was chaos. Guests were checking out early, whispering in corners. I saw Tessa near the elevator, and when our eyes met, she turned away fast. I asked the front desk about the honeymoon flight. The clerk gave me this awkward smile and said the booking had been cancelled by Mr. Harrow. I told him there must have been a mistake, that I was Mrs. Harrow now. His expression said otherwise. By noon, the whole thing was spreading. One of the groomsmen posted a photo of the empty dance floor with the caption, "Guess the honeymoon's off." Comments started piling up, people asking questions, making jokes. I turned off my phone, thinking it would stop the noise. It didn't. When I got home later that day, my mother was waiting at the door. She'd already heard. "Lydia," she said in that sharp, disappointed tone, "what did you do?" I tried to deny it, said it was a misunderstanding, said someone was trying to ruin me. She didn't buy it. "You embarrassed all of us," she said. "Do you realize what you've done to that man?" I wanted to scream that it wasn't her business, that Owen wasn't perfect either, but she just shook her head and went upstairs. I spent the next few days calling him, texting him, leaving voicemails that grew shorter each time. No response. Even Grant wasn't answering. Tina told me over the phone that people were talking about hotel staff, seeing me leave Grant's room at dawn. She said, "You need to lie low. This isn't going away." Then one afternoon, there was a knock on my door. A man in a suit stood there, holding a large envelope. He asked if I was Lydia Harrow. When I said yes, he handed it to me and said, "You've been served." My hands went cold before I even opened it. Inside was a formal notice from Diane Cross, attorney at law, representing Mr. Owen Harrow. The words "petition for annulment on grounds of fraud" were printed at the top. I sat down on the kitchen floor, reading it over and over. Fraud. Not infidelity. Fraud. Like the whole marriage was a scam I'd pulled on him. I tried calling him again that night, but his number was disconnected. My mother said she'd warned me. Grant finally texted one line. I told him everything. I couldn't live with it. My vision went blurry, and I dropped the phone. By morning, reporters were outside the house. I closed the blinds and realized that the secret I thought I could bury had already been dug up, examined, and turned into a headline. When I finally saw him again, it was at his lawyer's office. The place looked more like a museum than somewhere people came to end their marriages. Everything smelled like lemon polish and cold air. Owen sat across from me, dressed in the same grey suit he'd worn at the wedding, calm and unreadable. Beside him was Diane Cross, the attorney whose name haunted my mailbox for days. I tried to start with something human, to remind him I was still me. "Owen, please, can we talk privately?" He didn't answer. Diane slid a stack of papers toward me and said, "Mr. Harrow is seeking an annulment based on evidence of deception prior to the marriage." Her voice was smooth, rehearsed, merciless. I opened the folder and there it was. Screenshots of messages between Grant and me, timestamps from the hotel security cameras, statements from staff. I felt my throat close. Owen had been gathering proof while I was still pretending we could fix things. I whispered, "You were spying on me?" He said, "No, I was preparing." I told him it was a mistake, that it didn't mean anything, that people make bad choices when they're scared. He said nothing. His lawyer did all the talking: property separation, name restoration, repayment for expenses. Every line was perfectly calculated. Finally, I snapped, "You're really doing this? After everything?" He looked at me for the first time in weeks. "There's nothing to fix, Lydia. It was never real to you." The way he said my name, flat, final, made my stomach twist. I tried to reach for him, but he pushed the pen toward me instead. "Sign where she marked," he said quietly. My hands were trembling so hard the ink smeared. When it was done, he stood, thanked Diane, and walked out. No goodbye, no glance back. Just that same calm stride down the hallway. Diane gathered the papers, slipped them into her briefcase, and said, "You should prepare for public filing by the end of the week." I sat there long after she left, staring at the empty chair across from me, realizing the only thing more painful than his anger was his complete absence of it. The court date came faster than I expected. By then, everyone already knew. The neighbors, my co-workers, even strangers online who thought they knew the whole story. When I walked into the courthouse, cameras flashed outside. My mother trailed behind me but wouldn't meet my eyes. Inside, it was cold and quiet, the kind of place where feelings didn't matter. Owen sat at the front with Diane, looking composed, like he was attending a business meeting instead of ending a marriage. I wanted to believe he'd look at me, maybe see how sorry I was, but he never did. When the judge asked if both parties understood the petition, he answered first, clear and certain. I said yes too, though my voice cracked. The judge read through the paperwork, asked a few formal questions, and then said the words that cut deeper than anything else. This union is declared null and void. Just like that, our wedding, our vows, the house full of plans, erased in less than 5 minutes. Afterward, I tried to catch him before he left. I told him we could still talk, that I made one mistake, that I loved him. He finally looked at me then, and the look was worse than hatred. It was pity. "You called it freedom," he said. "Now you have it." He walked out without another word. My mother touched my shoulder, but I pulled away. Through the glass doors, I watched him step into the sunlight, Diane beside him, both of them calm, untouched by the wreckage behind them. When the doors shut, the echo sounded like a gavel. The papers in my hand felt heavier than the bouquet I'd once carried. That day, I finally understood. He didn't just leave me. He erased me. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next story. Write in the comments from which city you are watching.